Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here for the NFL preseason slate. We got a 5-game slate for August 15th. So before I try to break down the slate, I just want to kind of talk about how teams normally approach week 2 in the preseason. So week 2 is going to be kind of similar to week 1. You're going to see a lot of the younger guys and the rookies get most of the time. The starters might get extended a little bit here. Maybe if they played a series in week 1, they'll play 2 series here in week 2. So I expect to see the starters maybe extend a little bit more than they did in week 1. But again, it's going to be a lot of the younger guys and the rookies that see a lot of the time here. So let's start with QB. Carson Wentz, not expected to play here. So you got Clayton Thorson, who did not look good at all in week 1, and Cody Kessler. I think Cody Kessler is worth a look, again, just because there's only really 2 quarterbacks going to be splitting that time. So I think Kessler is a solid option. As far as Jacksonville goes, I'm kind of crossing off. Nick Foles not going to play. Andy Dalton, you could give a look to, just because, again, he looked decent in week 1 of the preseason. I expect him to probably play a series or 2. So I think Dalton's worth a look. Let's see, Washington, probably no McCoy. Keenum will probably start and play a little bit. And then you got Dwayne Haskins. I know didn't look too good in week 1, but did play a good amount, past, 8 of 14. So I think you could go back to the well here on Haskins, just because I think the playing time is going to be there for him. And then you get Aaron Rodgers here. So they're expecting him to play the first quarter. 1 quarter of Aaron Rodgers, obviously you can easily get a touchdown or 2 out of him. So I think just because, Aaron Rodgers, we know he's going to play a quarter, I think he's a pretty solid option. Kaiser, I think is worth a look, just because he has that rushing upside. He would back up Rodgers, obviously. So I think Kaiser is still in play too. But I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely interesting here, just because, again, we know he's going to play a quarter. Same thing here with Lamar Jackson. They said he's going to play right around a quarter. I really like the quarterbacks that have that rushing upside. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is one of those quarterbacks. So I like him a good amount here. And then, you could go back to the well with McSorley. I expect him to get some decent run as well. Didn't look too good in week 1. But I think, the playing time would be there for him as well. So I think he's also in play. Oakland, they said Derek Carr is going to play a little. So I would probably guess that means 1 series. Glennon Peterman, no thank you. I know Nathan Peterman, had that long 50-yard rush, but I'm not even going to consider Nathan Peterman. Arizona, Kyler Murray. They said that he's going to play more than 1 drive. So just like Lamar Jackson, just like Aaron Rodgers, I think you got to consider him. Again, you got Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. They have that upside on the ground. So I kind of like both those guys a good amount here. So yeah, I'd expect Kyler Murray, again, to play right around a quarter or so. So I do like him. Brett Hundley backed up Kyler Murray. Played pretty well in week 1. So I think he's another option. Again, Arizona, they want to run. They want to be the fastest team in the NFL. They want to run the most plays. Just for that reason, I think Hundley is in play here. Atlanta, no one really too interesting here for me. Same thing with the Jets. So that's basically it for quarterback. Let's move on to running back position, and let's get to Philly. So what I'm going to do is talk about each team's run distribution from the preseason week 1. So let me bring up the Eagles really quick. So the Eagles in week 1, Pumphrey carried the ball 3 times for 11 yards, Smallwood 4 times for 11 yards, Jordan Howard 3 times for 8 yards, Josh Adams 3 times for 3 yards, Sanders 3 times for 3 yards, and Cody Kessler had a carry. So the carries are pretty spread out. If I wasn't to target anyone on Philly, I think it would be Miles Sanders, just because then he's the rookie. Only carried it 3 times though, but maybe gets a few extra carries here. Again, I'm going to lean towards playing the younger guys, the rookies, over the veterans. So I think Miles Sanders, if I was going to pick a Philly running back, would be the one I would pick. But again, the carries are pretty evenly distributed, so I'm not too interested in Philly. Now, as far as Jacksonville goes, I'm kind of interested in a couple Jacksonville backs. Let me get to their stats from here from week 1. There's the Jaguars, sorry. So Armstead carried the ball 8 times for 22 yards. Alfred Blue, 5 for 20. Mays, 8 for 20. And that was basically about it. So, Fournette, really don't expect him to play, if at all, much at all. Armstead, listed as questionable. Cunningham, not on the team anymore. Rawls is questionable. Thompson's on the IR. So, a lot of injuries. The backfield's pretty thin. So, right now, Alfred Blue and Mays look pretty appealing to me just because there's really no one else in that backfield, and someone's got to carry the football. So, I think both Mays and Alfred Blue are really interesting here. Rawls, again, if he would play, I think he would be another one that you could consider just because, again, that backfield's pretty thin. So that's kind of my interest with Jacksonville. I like those guys just because the backfield is really thin right now. Let me get to Cincinnati real quick. Hold on. Where are the Bengals? So the Bengals, pretty uneventful on the ground. Ellis, 3 carries for 11 yards. Williams, 5 carries for 5 yards. And Flowers, 4 carries for 5 yards. And that's it. Mixon, Gio Bernard, probably will play a series or two. I think you could consider either of those guys. Flowers and Ellis, just because, Anderson, Williams, questionable here. I think those guys you could also consider just because kind of the Jacksonville theory of there's not a whole lot of, healthy running backs. So that's kind of my thoughts with Cincinnati. Let's see. Washington. Let me get to Washington really quick. Where are the Redskins? Here we go. Okay, so Reynolds carried the ball 9 times for 21 yards. Haskins carried the ball twice. Marshall, 5 for 17. Piron, 6 for 13. And Wilson, 4 for 4. Nothing really sticking out the page too much for Washington. If Chris Thompson plays, I think he would be worth a look just because, again, he's DraftKings PPR. He's a pass-catching back. So if we get news that Chris Thompson's going to play, I think he's worth a look. But yeah, other than that, really not a whole lot I like in Washington. So let's move on to Green Bay. Green Bay, so I talked about Dexter Williams in my first video. Really like him again. So this is the Green Bay rushing stats here. Dexter Williams carried the ball 14 times for 62 yards. Carson, 8 for 15. Hall, 2 for 8. Wilkins, 3 for 7. And then Kaiser carried the ball a couple times. So, Aaron Jones, really don't expect him to play much, if at all. And then Jamal Williams nursing that injury. So, they gave a lot of work to Dexter Williams, 14 carries. Again, he's a rookie. They want to see what they got out of him. So I expect him to see a kind of similar workload, to be honest. So I think he's going to be pretty popular, but for good reason, just because, again, he got a lot of carries in week 1. So I do like Dexter Williams a good amount there for Green Bay. Let me go to the Ravens now. So, Ravens rushing. Justice Hill, 10 for 33. Turner, 6 for 29. Dixon, 4 for 21. McSorley carried the ball a few times. Gus Edwards, 6 for 12. That's basically about it. If I was going to pick someone on Baltimore, it would be Justice Hill, just because, again, he got 10 carries. He's the rookie. They want to know what they got out of him. So, I think Justice Hill would be the guy for Baltimore that I would consider there. Okay, Oakland. Where are the Raiders? Here we go. So Oakland. Nathan Peterman obviously had that long run, carried the ball for 56 yards. Brown, 9 for 37. Butler, 11 for 29. Washington, 6 for 24. None of the top backs for Oakland really played. Jacobs, Richard, Doug Martin. If they play, they're probably not going to play much. Again, the backfield's kind of crowded. It's kind of a cross-off for me for the Oakland backfield. Arizona. So Arizona had Hills carried the ball 8 for 37. Logan, 5 for 20. Strickland, 2 for 9. David Johnson, 2 for 4. DJ Foster, 2 for 1. Chase Edmonds, 2 for 4. I think David Johnson's even worth a look because he got some work in week 1. Again, they said they're going to give Kyler Murray more than one series. So maybe that means David Johnson gets more than one series. Obviously, if we get David Johnson for more than one series, that would be great. So I think David Johnson would be the guy I would have the most interest in. You can even look to Chase Edmonds, the backup too. But I think David Johnson, if we know that he's going to play more than a series, would be pretty interesting there. Okay, let's move on to Atlanta. And so last week it was Olsen 8 for 41, Hill 8 for 23, Ito Smith 4 for 7, and that was basically about it. So I think all three of those backs are interesting once again. It's Brian Hill. The first couple of weeks ago, and he was in that the opener too, played in the opener. He scored a touchdown in both weeks, so I think Brian Hill is going to be popular, but for good reason. He's looked pretty good. Olsen as well, getting some decent work in. He got 8 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Ito Smith, only 4 carries, but again, that backup job behind Devontae Freeman is up for grabs, so I think all three of those guys get a good amount of work again. So I think any of those three are definitely viable. I think Brian Hill's going to be most popular, followed by Olsen, followed by Ito Smith. But I think Ito Smith is worth a look as well. Okay, and then finally we get to the Jets. I do like a couple of Jets running backs here. Let me get to them. So their carries last week were Cannon, 9 for 20. Simeon carried the ball a couple of times. McGuire, 6 for 13. Falk, 2 for 10. Montgomery, 2 for 7. Holmes, 3 for 6. But the thing I did like was McGuire caught the ball 6 times for 30 yards and a touchdown. And Trent Cannon even caught the ball 3 times for 17 yards. So those are my 2 favorite targets for sure. Again, they're kind of in that third string area behind Le'Veon and Montgomery. And Bilal Powell. So it's really Elijah McGuire and Trent Cannon. I like both those guys a decent amount just because both those guys are pass-catching backs. Again, PPR format. I expect them to see a good amount of work. So McGuire, Trent Cannon, do like those guys a good amount here. All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Wide receiver and tight ends kind of a crapshoot in the preseason just because there's so many guys and, guys aren't going to be out there that much. You got to get lucky. Hopefully one of your guys scores. So I'm not going to go break down like all these receivers, try to break down all of them. But I am going to talk about a few guys that I think are solid. So Whiteside here for Philly, the rookie, caught the ball 2 or 4 times, got targeted 4 times. That's decent. Again, I'm going to lean towards playing the young guy. So I think Whiteside is worth a look there. Let's see, again, I'm not going to talk about every single team. Tyler Boyd in week 1, hauled in 3 passes. So, again, I think him, if Andy Dalton plays again, I'd assume Boyd plays again. Probably a series or 2. So I think Boyd's worth a look. Josh Malone, another guy that I'm considering because he looks pretty good here in training camp. So I think he's another option. Okay, Washington. It was Kidsey who had a big game last time out. Yeah, so he had 5 receptions for 86 yards. So again, it was targeted 7 times. So I think just because he had a good week 1, was targeted a lot. I think he's gonna be somewhat popular, but I think he's worth a look. And then another guy I want to talk about is Calvin Harmon. Again, only caught the ball two times, but has looked really good so far in training camp. Again, a younger guy, so I think Calvin Harmon I would also consider for Washington. Now we got Green Bay. And we know Aaron Rodgers is going to play the first quarter. So I assume that means, the rest of the starters are going to play the first quarter. And if Davante Adams is going to play, 1 quarter football, I think he's definitely worth considering here. So, you can either look to MVS or Geronimo Allison as well. But, if we get word that Davante Adams is going to play with Aaron Rodgers for a quarter, I think you've got to consider him. Baltimore, just not a whole lot I like because, again, They're more of a running team. Oakland, I did like Renfro last week, but he just like didn't play at all. I'd expect him to play a little bit more, but again, Oakland, they have a lot of wide receivers, so I'm probably going to pass. Then Arizona, just kind of the same thing with the Green Bay receivers I just talked about with the starters. With those starters, I expect Kyler Murray to probably play about a quarter. So that means Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, I'd assume they're probably going to play a quarter or so too. So I think both those guys are definitely in play as well. Let's see. Lastly, I'll talk about the rookie Greg Dortch here. Because he got 6 targets, caught the ball 4 times for 20 yards and a touchdown. So, again, those younger rookie guys, those are the guys that are going to see the most amount of time. He got targeted 6 times, so I think he's an option you can consider here for wide receiver. And yeah, so that's basically about it, guys. Let's move on to tight end. Tight end is just really a shit show as well. For me, I'm going to lean towards playing the starting tight ends if they're going to be out there for a quarter or so. So if Zach Ertz, we don't have any confirmation, but if he's going to start and play like a quarter or so, I would like him. Let's see. Tyler Eifert, really don't expect him to play just because he's been so injury prone throughout his career. Same thing here with Jordan Reed. If he plays, I would like him, but I don't think he's gonna go out there just because again he's so injury prone. And then Jimmy Graham, just the same reason I talked about Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams would be if Jimmy Graham plays. If he does play, I'd assume he plays the same amount of Aaron Rodgers, which is about a quarter. So I think Jimmy Graham would be an option for sure if he's going to play. Mark Andrews, the rookie for Baltimore, has looked pretty good here. Played about a half too as well, so I think he's a good option here. Let's see. May have misspoke about Mark Andrews too. I think it might be a second year actually. Hold on. I'll talk about it later, but I do like him still. So yeah, let's see. Okay, that's basically it for me for tight end. Again, you really got to get lucky and hope your tight end scores. So for that reason, I'm going to lean towards just playing those starting tight ends, and hopefully they can get in the end zone in the first couple series. As far as defense goes, I'm going to lean towards the Eagles just because look at the Jacksonville quarterbacks here. Nick Foles is not going to be playing, so it's going to be Tanner Lee, Minshew, and McGough. I believe that's how you pronounce the name. So just for that reason, I'm probably going to lean towards playing Philly's defense. And I think that's about it, guys. So if you guys have been enjoying the content, I would really, really appreciate if you would like this video and subscribe. I will put my Twitter in the description below. If you guys haven't followed me already, it's really important to do so because I will be giving updates as we get them on Twitter. Late breaking news, guys not playing, guys that are expected to play a lot. I'll try to do my best to keep you guys updated. So really important to follow me on Twitter. And yeah, I'll be back for another video breaking down a Friday's preseason slate. So I will see you guys then.